On today's Locked On NBA Game Night podcast, the Pistons got stunned, the Hornets get a thriller, and the Timberwolves make a statement. We'll talk about it all on today's Locked On NBA Game Night podcast.
When that final buzzer rings, you know it's time for Locked On NBA Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. It's the true NBA fans' one stop for all the action. Every game, every night. It's Locked On NBA Game Night. Tipping off now.
Let's get it going on the Locked On NBA Game Night podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your teams every day. Now the number one sports podcast network in the world. I'm your host, Rylan Stiles, host of Locked On Thunder. That's David Ramil of Locked On Heat. We're bringing you every Thursday night across the association, everything that happened on the court today. David, what a fun night that it was. A loaded slate tonight, a lot of games to get to. And I think that perhaps for the first time in Locked On NBA Game Night history, we're going to start with the Charlotte Hornets. Today's show is brought to you by Game Time. Go download the Game Time app today, create your account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. David, the Charlotte Hornets won 123-121 as Con Knippel and Cooper Flag delivered a matchup of all matchups, where Con had 34 points. Cooper Flag, though, not to be outdone, he had 49 points in this game, both on great efficiency, both just duking it out for a game that went down to the wire, and ultimately the Hornets get the win. Let's go to Locked On Mavericks, Nick Angstadt, to hear more.
I mean, what can be said except Cooper Flag is absolutely him. The youngest player with 49 points in a game. He was absolutely relentless against the Charlotte Hornets. The Mavs lose this game, couldn't come up with stops late, but Cooper Flag hits a three with 33 seconds left. The crowd goes absolutely insane. A pull-up three off of a switch, just absolutely insane. Mavs get a chance. They get the ball back. Cooper Flag throws a pass over to Max Christie. Gets tipped by Con Knippel. Con takes the ball to the other end of the floor. Cooper Flag pins the ball against the backboard against his former roommate, his former teammate at Duke, and they call it a foul. Con goes to the free throw line, hits two free throws, and if you're asking me, I don't think it was a foul. I think you let that play. He made an incredible play on the ball. He had his hands both up in the air. They both went up for it at the same time. It's like, how do you call pass interference when both guys are going for the ball? I don't know. But Cooper Flag was incredible, just relentless going to the rim over and over again. The Hornets did not have adequate rim protection or adequate players that could stick with him on the perimeter, and that's why Flag is such an incredible player. He can finish with his left or his right. The floaters, the little stuff at the rim was absolutely incredible today. He was just hitting on all those, and those are the tough shots that are going to take him from a really good rotation-level player to an all-star, all-NBA, MVP-type player, and he's just 19 years old. 19 and 39 days. The youngest player to have 49 points in a game was 20. It's absolutely incredible what he can do. There are no limits for Cooper Flag.
We're talking Cooper Flag, who has no limits, according to Nick Angstadt, and Con Knippel, and these Hornets. There's just so much that I'm into. Let's start with something. David, let's start with Dallas and get them out of the way, because it really was just Cooper Flag that I found interesting about their game. Cooper Flag, 49 points, 10 rebounds, 3 assists. He is the real deal. Like there's been so many guys who we've talked about as generational first-round talents. Cooper Flag fits that billing tenfold.
Yeah, absolutely. The hype he's lived up to it. Going into the draft, people were kind of questioning whether or not he'd be a good selection at number one. There were other candidates that might be potential options there that might have better futures, but Flag still won up. Everybody believed that maybe he might be a good player. They weren't quite sure what his ceiling would be. Well, I think those expectations have certainly been blown away, and he's been phenomenal as a rookie. He puts up great numbers. He looks like a really solid developing player, and I think he'll continue to get better. And he's already shown so much promise. It's a bright future for him. And you know what? The Mavericks are a lucky team to have him on their roster.
They are certainly lucky, literally, with that lottery luck. And I mean, it's not as though a lot of these generational talents have gone to the perfect scenario, but Cooper certainly hasn't. I mean, his fan base was in revolt when he shows up to town. That they tried to play him out of position initially. This roster's been hurt nonstop, and yet he perseveres through it all and has looked every bit the part of who he was hyped up to be, which in the modern era, very hard to live up to the hype whenever you hear about these kids for years and years and years. And he's gotten here and he's delivered. So has his college teammate Con Knippel, who had 34 points tonight, 8 for 12 shooting. And David, whenever they made the selection of Con Knippel on draft night, I was very high on the selection. I thought that it was the first time in a long time that I felt good about the trajectory of Charlotte. And then they come out this year and they've proven that. Like, I like this Charlotte team. They're a fun team that I think that you can see the bones of a core. And I think that, you are very much more intimate with the Hornets, covering the Heat and covering that conference and covering that division than I am. But like, I think that the Hornets have a foundation right now that I think that they've lacked for many years.
Yeah, listen, it's tough to kind of project that far ahead with the Hornets because it feels like every time I feel like they've been in this stage for a number of years, a number of seasons. Even last year with Brandon Miller, there was already hype about, he was a solid player. But when you tied yourself to LaMelo Ball, I feel like it's always going to be somewhat dubious. And so I'm cautiously optimistic about the Hornets' future. But I think Con Knippel has been the real deal too. I think he's been great. I'm not sure if he's not a generational type talent necessarily, but I think he's flirting with all-star potential. And I think we'll see that at some stage in his career. And he's been really solid. So is there a solid foundation there? I'd say yes, but it's still up to the Hornets front office to try and build around that core and add the right players and maybe lure somebody in free agency, maybe get a proven veteran, somebody that can kind of be the leading presence in that locker room. Because I think there's still something missing there in terms of overall leadership. But as far as the young players are concerned, absolutely a bright future there. So you hope that they can make the most of it in Charlotte.
I think we made history on Locked On NBA Game Night, starting with Charlotte. Let's go now, though, to the prime game in a prime time slot. Supposed to be a fun game. The Western Conference Finals rematch as Minnesota takes on Oklahoma City. But instead, Minnesota just mollywopped Oklahoma City, obliterated them from start to finish, a wire-to-wire blowout win. Let's go to Ben Beacon, Locked On Wolves, to hear more.
The Minnesota Timberwolves beat the OKC Thunder by double digits for their third straight win. I'm Ben Beacon, host of the Daily Locked On Wolves podcast. The Timberwolves won this one by 12. It wasn't really that close. There was some garbage time at the end of the game. And remember, they beat OKC 6 weeks ago as well. They're now up 2-1 in the season series. Obviously, a couple of rotation guys, J-Dub, AJ Mitchell, missing, Alex Caruso missing for OKC. But you got to beat who's in front of you. And OKC is still really, really good. The Timberwolves came out with fantastic defensive energy early in this game and led by 12 at the end of the first quarter. And it was all about picking the Thunder up at the timeline, pressuring them, being aggressive, almost reminiscent. We haven't seen the Wolves play this defense consistently since the playoffs 2 years ago in the 7-game series against Denver in the second round. It was that type of defense that the Wolves played throughout this game. Anthony Edwards was phenomenal offensively. He had all three levels working in this one, 26 points on 17 shots. Naz Reid was great off the bench with 18 points. And Jaden McDaniels, a perfect 5 of 5 on threes, fantastic defense. Dante DiVincenzo, not a very good offensive game, but was probably the Wolves' best defender in this game. Rudy Gobert, a double-double, just a well-rounded professional effort by the Timberwolves. They out-thundered the Thunder with their playing style in this one for a third consecutive win for the Wolves as they try and really hold serve in the middle of the Western Conference playoff picture.
Out-thundering the Thunder. Great minds think alike. That's exactly what I thought of watching this game. Minnesota, they were just the aggressor tonight on both ends of the floor, but they did it by being fundamentally sound, using their feet, not their hands. They've been able to just be the ultimate team today defensively to shut down Oklahoma City and then just abuse the Thunder's defense. The Thunder were slow in rotations tonight, didn't contest the three ball very well. Minnesota got whatever they wanted and took whatever they wanted in this game. The only player to play well for for the Thunder was Shea. For Minnesota, I mean, they had a really good outing from everybody, but of course, Anthony Edwards leads the charge for them each and every night. But David, we've talked about Minnesota a lot on this show on Thursdays. It's just the way the NBA schedule has gone. And we've talked a lot about them building up these big leads, losing these big leads, and then maybe squeaking it out at the end, maybe outright blowing the game. Tonight, 22-point was their biggest lead. They went wire to wire with a 10-point cushion for 40 of these minutes in this game. This was a very impressive win for Minnesota.
Yeah, I agree. I think, as Ben pointed out, it was their defense that really stood out there, able to do everything. Because offensively, I don't think they were quite as sharp. I mean, they got some solid performances from Edwards and McDaniels, but nothing otherworldly, too. It wasn't like this incredible elite level of production. And a couple of players, DiVincenzo, Randall, they both struggled from the field as well. So it wasn't like they got this monster production offensively, but they did so much defensively to stifle Oklahoma City that was really the difference. And you know what? I'm curious to see and what the future matchups between these two teams like, because I wonder if Minnesota can keep up this level of defense as they did a couple seasons ago.
Yeah, that's the $1 million question, and it's not going to sound right coming from me because I host Locked On Thunder, but I promise you this is like sincere. But it's just, you look at Minnesota last year after that regular season battle in February, where they played multiple times in the month and Minnesota won multiple times in the month, and their defense was stellar. Their defense gave Shea fits last year, and today Shea, do not let his box score fool you. What was a really good box score, and it is kind of a detriment in the sense of like how good Shea is that we're going to consider this an off night. It was not as easy as the box score looks. It was not as easy and effortless as Shea's nights usually are. The biggest issue was 5 turnovers for Shea, which is completely rare for him. But they made him work for every bucket. And to his credit, he's such a good player that he scored 30 points in 32 minutes on great efficiency, over 60%. That's a credit to Shea, but it does not take away from what Minnesota did to him defensively. And this was the same story last year in February. And then the Western Conference Finals rolls around, and the Thunder, you only lose once to Minnesota after losing twice to them in just 1 month in the regular season. So, like, I don't know how this will play out long term, but this is certainly a great sign for Minnesota. And we'll see what they look like in a week from now when we're doing this show on February 5th with some of the rumors swirling around them. But a big statement win heading into the All-Star break for Minnesota. Coming up, though, let's talk about your Miami Heat. The Detroit Pistons got stunned as well. And we're also going to dive into the Houston Rockets bouncing back. The first one to say right now, but your friends over at FanDuel, go check out FanDuel today, folks, because FanDuel is incredible. And folks, it's the last call for football season. One final Sunday, one last kickoff, the final chance to get in on the action before the NFL season officially comes to a close. It's Super Bowl 60, and FanDuel is making sure you're right in the middle of it with a special offer just in time for the biggest game of the year. Whether you're backing the favorites or riding the underdog or building the one last same game parlay, there is something for everyone here that you've been waiting on for this game. Whether you are predicting it turning into plays or the same storylines that you want to see develop, and every snap that feels bigger, you can have the perfect way to cap off the season with Super Bowl here for you, a more exciting way to win from kickoff to final whistle. If you're a new customer, you can bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if you win. Make it count, because right now the Super Bowl and the season is here. It's coming to a close. It's the last call for football on FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of Super Bowl 60. Visit FanDuel.com to get started today. We're back on the Locked On NBA Game Night podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network, your teams every day. I'm Rylan Stiles. That's David Ramil. I'm host of Locked On Thunder. He's host of Locked On Heat. We're here for you every Thursday breaking down the NBA. David, let's go over to the Valley and see the Suns Pistons game. Big game, as it turns out, because the Thunder lost to Minnesota. If Detroit would have won this game, they would have tied OKC in the loss column for the best overall record in the NBA, with home court advantage at stake here throughout the postseason, of course. And instead, Dillon Brooks, career high, 40 points. Dillon the Villain on Dillon the Villain night, as the arena is packed out in Dillon Brooks shirts. The Suns get an impressive win, 114-96 over the Detroit Pistons in a game in which only saw 4 lead changes and 4 ties, all coming in which the first quarter was unfolding. Since the first quarter ended, Phoenix ballooned their lead to 21 points. Detroit never got their lead above 2 points, and it was a Suns thorough win as they hold Cade Cunningham to just 26 points. Dillon scores 40 points, and the Suns were able to win the 3-point variance in a big way, 38% to 20% in their favor. Ultimately, though, this Suns team, I really buy into their defense. They don't seem like contenders in this loaded Western Conference, but David, they get wins like this, even sans Devin Booker. Of course, Jalen Green has been out all of but 3 games so far this year, and still they just find ways to win.
Yeah, it's a solid win, and I think they continue to add to their identity. I don't see them as contenders either, but definitely somebody that's capable of the spoiler role, or is at least going to make you work in whatever playoff matchup assuming they can escape the play-in tournament, which is currently where they're seated. But it was a really good win for them, and they did a great job defensively, really limiting Detroit's bench, only getting 13 bench points off from Detroit. And I credit to the Phoenix defense for doing a fantastic job. You know, even Cade Cunningham struggled in the night with his efficiency too. So really solid win. And I think that they can be, again, a very difficult matchup should they get out of the play-in tournament.
Yeah, they will be a team that's not going to roll over for anybody. And I think that judging by the other play-in candidates, depending on what happens at the trade deadline, they might be a team that the 1 and 2 seeds in the West are rooting against to make it out of the play-in tournament because of how much that their defense is going to make you work for literally everything. But what an impressive win. We know that our good friend Mr. Garcia is having a good time. Ben is partying it up in the group chats after this win for the Suns. Go check out Locked On Suns to learn more about this game. But on John Wall night, the Wizards, 2 in a row. David, a winning streak. Can we call it that? Does it need to get to 3? 2 in a row for Washington, 109-99. They get this win. Let's go to Locked On Wizards to hear more.
How about 2 wins in a row for this Washington Wizards team? 109-99 over the Milwaukee Bucks. The Wizards finished 3-1 against the Bucks this year. That's a quarter of Washington's wins on the season are against the Milwaukee Bucks. Without Giannis Antetokounmpo, but an impressive win on John Wall celebration night for this Wizards team. And it really felt like this fan base had life and energy again for the first time in years. There were audible "Let's Go Wizards" defense chants in Capital One Arena. We have not heard that in years, and they were loud, and they were excited because this team gave 100% effort tonight. Jameer Watkins is a problem defensively. He was all over the place. Activity was great. Sarr, a career-high 17 rebounds. Keyshawn George had 23 for Washington. Another win because your youth was able to close this game out. This was a really feel-good win for this Wizards team.
A really feel-good win for Washington, and what's been a kind of feel-good new year. I mean, they get Trae Young, which they feel good about it. I don't know if anyone else does. They feel good about it, though. They get to celebrate John Wall. They get a couple wins in a row here. They basically just own the Rising Stars event. Everybody in the Rising Stars is somehow a Washington Wizard. David, your thoughts on the Wizards getting this win?
Talk to me about it in 3 years, but they're building something. I mean, that's, we talked about the Hornets. I guess you're looking for the silver lining on the gray cloud here. And I think that Washington fans have some reason to be optimistic too. And, the wins are going to be hard to come by. And ultimately that's what people remember. That's how a season gets judged, but you're building towards something and maybe there's some hope there. So I can't take that away from them. And you get a solid win against a Bucks team that's definitely trying to find some kind of identity at this point in time because they're obviously going through quite a lot with some recent rumors. I think that some teams might be involved in. I'm not sure.
Yeah, they have a lot to sort out over there in Milwaukee. This was a great time to schedule the John Wall night that kind of capitalized on the downtrodden Bucks. But we don't have to toss to anybody for this next game, David. We have the source right here with us. David Ramil, host of Locked On Heat. Let us know what happened in Heat versus Bulls.
Well, the Heat were on the second night of a back-to-back, but they had some really good energy and got some really solid performances from Jaime Jaquez Jr., who continues to be the leading Sixth Man of the Year candidate, in my opinion. He was 19 points on 8 of 13 shooting, 10 rebounds, 6 assists, 3 steals, so a really big night from him. They got some solid production from other guys as well. That starting lineup was just okay today, but they were just good enough defensively. Bam Adebayo, though he didn't have the production, did a great job on Nick Vucevic, stifling him all night. He just finished 6 of 18 for 15 points. And if not for an Ayo Dosunmu barrage late in the fourth quarter, this probably would have been a much bigger win for Miami. As it was, it came down to the wire, requiring a Pelle Larsson layup at the end there to kind of push the lead to 3. But it shouldn't have been that close. But again, Dosunmu, a good performance. And one of the things that we talked about is that Dosunmu might be one of those players that a contending team might be looking to add to their roster. Another guy who brings some solid.
Yeah, I mean, a contender should absolutely want to hop on him, as David will try to reconnect here in a second. But I completely agree that Dosunmu should be someone that other teams target if the Bulls are willing to make that decision to swing that way of not going for it and trying to be on this mediocrity train to the play-in tournament. So David, I agree with you there. Coming up, we're going to talk about after we just dove into the Heat winning 116-113 over Chicago. We're going to dive into the Kings Sixers. Here they come, Philadelphia, the Rockets getting a win over Atlanta, and also the Knicks staving off Brooklyn. We're back on the Lockdown. We're going to go to our good friends over at Game Time right now. Our good friends over at Game Time are there for you because there's nothing like being in an NBA arena, the crowd, the energy, the moment. Getting tickets, though, sometimes is not always simple. And that's why Game Time has become the go-to app, because for them, it's always the best experience ever because scoring tickets is fast, it's without the hassle, and it puts the advantage back where it belongs, which is in the fans' hands. Pull up the Game Time app, pick out your upcoming NBA game, and get those tickets locked in within minutes. My favorite part is I love to see the all-in pricing up front. There's no surprise fees at checkout. Everything is up front at Game Time. I love that so much. I also love the zone deals, especially if you've never been to the arena before. You click on the section. Not only do you get a view from your seat to know exactly what you're going to get, but also you click on the section and Game Time will pick the seats for you that you save the most on. It's the best deal for you. So it's quick, it's intuitive, it's stress-free, and it's there for you from start to finish to take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create your account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. That's code LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON, for $20 off your first purchase. Go download the Game Time app today. And remember, it's gametime.co, not gametime.com. We're back on the Locked On NBA Game Night Podcast. On the Locked On Podcast Network, your teams every day. I'm Rylan Stiles, host of Locked On Thunder. That's David Ramil, host of Locked On Heat. David, here they come, Philadelphia. Maxey, game winner, dropping 40 points, getting this win against Sacramento. Let's go to Locked On Sixers to hear more.
Nobody wants to see their basketball team trailing a team like the Sacramento Kings by 11 points at the 7:44 mark of the fourth quarter, but yet there we were with the 76ers in South Philly Thursday night. They call timeout. They walk off the floor being booed by the South Philly faithful. And then they come back into the game and they outscore the Kings 21-8 to close out the victory. Tyrese Maxey getting the game-winning layup with 1.4 seconds left on the clock to give the Sixers a 113-111 win over Sacramento. Maxey, that was just 2 of his 40 points on the night. Joel Embiid had 37. Paul George dropped in 15, while nobody else from the Sixers had more than 5 points after the big 3. Sixers pick up the victory and look to keep it going against the New Orleans Pelicans Saturday night at 7:30 before they head out west for a 5-game road trip.
David, I want you to flow into your thoughts on this overall game, but first answer me this question. Can we consider Maxey, Embiid, and Paul George in the year of our Lord 2026 a big 3?
No, we cannot. Embiid, I think, is still putting up some big numbers. He's been great on occasion, but again, health concerns always standing out when it comes to any conversation about Joel Embiid. Tyrese Maxey, though, he's been phenomenal. Like he's just great. So much production from him. You're getting it night in and night out. But come on, Paul George, no, not in 2026. Not a member of the big 3. However, still able to produce, still able to contribute, and that's all you're really looking for at this stage in the career. Although, again, Philadelphia linked to Antetokounmpo and potential trade rumors, so one of many teams, obviously, and maybe they're looking to bolster their chances, maybe add to the big 2, a legitimate big 3. Then, if you add Antetokounmpo, I would say, but no, they're
If you add Antetokounmpo to the Sixers team, it would be a big 3. And I mean, I to be clear, we're just having a good time. It is the Sixers big 3. It's just not a big 3 in the NBA as we wait for David to rejoin us. David, again, if they added Antetokounmpo, though, it would be a big 3. What's the Antetokounmpo rumor? Because we've hinted at this a few times, and of course, the next time we talk, it'll be settled. He'll either be traded or he won't be, and we'll have to wait till the summertime. But the rumors of like Minnesota, Golden State, your Heat, the Sixers, like which of these, the Knicks, which of these like rumored teams get you going the most as an NBA fan of just, I really want to see what he looks like there? The suspense is killing me. I'm going to say that Minnesota being in the fray, like seriously, according to Mark Stein, is a bit shocking that they're like legitimately there. The reporting that is like that he's interested in Philadelphia is also surprising to me. But David, I'm always going to be biased to the Sixers. I do like Maxey. I do like VJ Edgecombe, which I would imagine they have to part with him to get Giannis. I don't know that for a fact, but like, which of these destinations tickles your fancy the most for Giannis?
I don't know. At this point, it depends on what they will be able to yield. Obviously, I mean, yeah. I'm kind of biased in wanting to cover him here in Miami and see what that he'd be able to add. But you're going to have to give up quite a bit in order to acquire him. I'm curious to see where his best fit would be and what team is able to go all out. And if they can surround him with the right kind of talent, because you don't want to see a top player like him be wasted on a roster. And we talked about this recently with Miami being linked to the Antetokounmpo and trade talks. It's like, if you have to give up so much in order to acquire him, are you still going to be able to field the kind of group that can help him compete immediately? Is it going to be more of a long-term process? And so with all these teams getting involved, it feels like it's going to be the beginnings of a multi-team trade where somebody has to give up something else, and maybe everybody can get a little bit of something, even if one of those three teams winds up being, getting out of the Kumpo in the end. So,
yeah, you have to be able to keep enough around him to make yourself still competitive and to make yourself still be able to field a team that can fit his qualifications to stay with you long term. He wants to be in a place that can win a championship. And if you give up too much and you change your direction too much, especially with how restrictive the new CBA is, you could land yourself in a spot where you gave up so much for Giannis and incurred so much salary that even if you were to get him to resign, now you have no avenues to improve your team, and you're the exact scenario that Milwaukee is. So it's going to be fascinating to see if this can truly play out over the next few days here to the February 5th trade deadline. But we move on to Houston. They won 104-86 over Atlanta. Weird game for me because Kevin Durant was stellar. I mean, he had 31 points on 55% shooting from the floor, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. But then it's like Şengün only had 9 points, and Amen Thompson had 9 points. And you look up and down, it's like, okay, Josh Okogie had 10. Jabari Smith had 2 threes that he made for 14 points. But this Rockets team, especially the more you dissect them as they get stripped away, Steven Adams, sadly, who's out for the year with injury. We knew before the year they'd be without Fred VanVleet due to injury, which really hurt their guard rotation. David, I think that there are the bones here if they were fully healthy, a contending level team. But as they currently sit with the injuries that we know that they have, I struggle to put Houston, even after this win, into a contender status.
Yeah, a far cry from where we saw them at the beginning of the season. Obviously, they've taken a step down, and the injuries certainly have made things much more difficult for them. And who knows? I don't see a trade in their future either, although there are always rumors about.
Yeah, I mean, the rumors are plenty, and I agree, David. I don't see a trade in their future, but this is a team that has the expiring contracts and has the financial contracts to make a trade work, especially if the Bucks were willing to take on some of these guys who are out for the year, and the future draft picks to go and have enough sweeteners to get a big time deal done. But like you, I don't see that being a possibility for them in the sense of them not wanting to do it. I think that they won't have the appetite to do it. And then if you're looking at like realistic insurance policies, none of them move me in a positive direction if I'm Houston to really kind of galvanize me to pick them as a contender yet again. So they're just kind of in this weird middle state where if we both agree they don't have the appetite for a big name, there's also no like small name that can help them get over the hump either. So they're kind of in this weird little flow state here. The last game of the day, Denver, Brooklyn. As a fun one, 137-103, as Michael Porter Jr. makes his return to the Mile High City, and Michael Porter Jr. drops 38 points on 7 for 15 from 3 for MPJ in this one. Nick Claxton, really good tonight for Brooklyn. And then for Denver, Jamal Murray drove the bus, 27 points on 56% shooting, willing them to a win, taking this game over. He had help from Tim Hardaway Jr., who splashed in 7 triples. Some other guys stepped up whenever it counted the most, but throughout the game, it looked like a game that it would be Denver dropping this one to Brooklyn. But instead, Denver was able to get this win. And they eventually saw this situation here where they went up by 19 points right before intermission. And then that lead eroded to the point where it was not only tied, but Brooklyn got the lead late in the fourth quarter. And then ultimately, Denver came storming back in the final 3 minutes and got this win in a narrow fashion, thanks to Jamal Murray. But yeah, that's what I think's going to happen here with the show here. I think that we're at the end of the line as Jamal Murray helped power Denver to a win. David, thank you so much. It's always fun podcasting with you, even through technical difficulties, even through a late start because the NBA starts these games super late nowadays. We'll be back again next week for an electrifying show where we're going to see the trade deadline come and go by that point. and know who's going to go where and who's going to be the true top contenders in the NBA. Plus, we'll have a full slate of games to recap, or the last day that gets to recap games before the All-Star break goes into full effect. So make sure that you tune in for that here on Locked On NBA Game Night, and make sure you tune in throughout the entire week, including tomorrow and every day past that. So for David Ramil, I'm Rylan Stiles. Until next time, folks, be good and be good to one another.